I've been planning on doing this video for a while. I only have a subscriber of one. Hi, Joe. How's it going? I plan on posting this on Facebook. I don't know if it's going to get me more views or not. I really don't know. This is the sort of video that I think the first half will probably go over fairly well with most of my friend base at this point, because I've pretty much weeded out conservatives. I still have a few in my friend feed. Hi, Mike. But not a lot, and I don't expect I will listen to this, rambling. So I think that most of my liberal friends will probably find the first part very compelling, and the second part will cause people to get agitated and irritated, and that's fine. But I think it's something that needs to be said. So I want to talk about voter suppression and the tactics used by the Republican Party to depress voter turnout on election day, and how it directly affects the Democratic base, Democratic voters. And it's piecemeal. There's so many different ways they do it. Voter ID laws. Obviously, it seems like such a small thing. Like, why don't you just show your ID when you vote? Well, because in the state of Illinois, for example, we don't have a voter ID law, but if you get a traffic ticket, your driver's license is taken as bond. So you don't have a legal state ID at that point if that's your only one when you surrender it to the police. So that's a problem. And I don't know in other states if that's the case, if you have to surrender your ID. But also you can lose your wallet. It can get stolen. Simply put, you can not have the money to have it renewed, or not have the ability to easily get to the DMV. If you are registered to vote, in order to register to vote, you have to show your ID in the first place. You can't just register to vote, walk in and be like, I don't have to show you my ID to register. No, to register in every state in the union, as far as I know, you have to show ID in order to register. And that makes sense. Registration can occur at any time. You don't have to go in on election day to register to vote. Most places you can't. You have to register at least a month, usually sometimes more in advance, to be eligible to vote on election day. But there isn't a specific day of the week, day of the month, day of the year that you have to register. You can register at any time at DMVs, at other various election officiating places. So you register to vote, you need your ID, but it's not on a specific day. That's the problem with a voter ID law, is that you may not have your ID on election day. Let's say your wallet was stolen, you lost it, it expired, and you didn't get a chance to go to the DMV, unfortunately, because your birthday is November 10th or something. Oh no, it wouldn't be November 5th or something, right? Lots of different reasons why you might not have your ID on you that day, or it might not be considered valid on that day. It hurts people that need to be able to, vote on election day, but can't because they don't have access to ID. And people say that there are states that allow free IDs. In order to get that ID, you need like a copy of your birth certificate, and that's not free. How it's the ID itself is free, but all the forms of identification you need to secure the ID are not free. It makes it more difficult for people to vote, and that's deliberate, because impoverished people who are miles away from the place they need to go to obtain their ID, those are the ones that are going to end up not voting as a result of these ID laws, and that's usually going to end up being a Democratic voter, and that's why the Republican Party goes after these ID laws. It's not to stop voter fraud. We all know voter fraud is a joke, and it affects so few people. There's so few actual instances of it, and most of the ones that we have actually seen have been perpetrated by Republicans. So, there's no real threat of voter fraud hurting the Republican Party. They're using it as a scapegoat for depressing Democratic votes. And then you go on beyond that to the unwillingness to give former felons the right to vote back. We had the referendum in Florida that gave all of the former convicts, the former felon convicts, their right to vote back, and they have to apply for that, apply to register to vote at this point. But that was the whole point of it, was to give them the right to vote back, and the word for it has escaped me, and I'm going to feel stupid when this video is over. But uh, you know, Republicans fought it for a long time because they know that these voters are almost certainly going to vote Democrat, and they don't want that. They don't want to make it easy for people to be able to vote Democrat. They want to make it harder because they know that if the votes are there, if more people have access to the ballot, have access to their polling places, they will be able to vote. This is why they're shutting down polling places, packing districts with lots of voters so that there are long lines. These long lines, they may seem like a big thing. I mean, we all see every election, every general election, you see these Democratic politicians like, hang in there, stay in your polling place. As long as you were in line before it closed, they have to let you vote, and we're wringing our hands. You must vote, you must vote. And, that's the reason why those lines are so long is because Republicans are hoping people will not wait in line. And here's the thing. There are people who can't. They have a shift to go to. They have work to do. They carved out a small period of time between their two jobs that they have to do in order to survive in this economy to vote. And unfortunately, this crazy long line is something that's just not conducive to their day. We want them to stay in line. We want them to vote, but they might not be able to because they're working 2 to 3 jobs and they can't get the time off. And yes, it's illegal for companies to punish you for taking your time to vote. Like, I'm sorry, I'm late, I was voting. Is like, oh, that's okay. It's okay that you took that time to vote, but you called in sick 4 weeks ago, and I haven't gotten around to this, but you're fired. They'll fire you for some other reason, is what I'm getting at, and that's a problem. So, yeah, there are people who know better, that know like they can't wait, and that's what Republicans are counting on. They're counting on Democratic voters waiting in line and just getting frustrated and walking away because they have a job to get to, or they have a screaming child with them because they can't find anyone to sit for them while they go vote. This is all part of it. Like, pack those poor people into these really long lines and hope that they give up. And it's worked. Voter turnout has been terrible, and that definitely helps the Republican Party. It definitely helps the Republican Party. But here's the thing. In primaries, it helps centrist corporate Democrats. That's a hard thing to hear, but it's true. Because a lot of these people that all the stumbling blocks that Republicans put in front of, these are people who belong to the far left, by and large. And corporate Democrats are going to reap the benefits. And even while in a general election, they will pound their fists and shake their hands and say, this is terrible. White people, white, wealthy liberals, they pull their Range Rover into the parking lot of their polling place at 8 in the morning, walk in, grab their ballot, vote, and are out in 10 minutes, drive to Starbucks, grab a grande latte, and drive to work, and it's no inconvenience at all for them to vote on primary day. But poor people working 2 jobs that might, want to vote for the far leftists, might want to vote for Elizabeth Warren, might want to vote for the other guy that ran against Hillary Clinton, whose name I won't speak in this particular video, but you get that type of voter is going to be the one that doesn't vote on primary day because of the obstacles that ironically are thrown in place by the Republicans that are denounced by Democrats, corporate centrist Democrats, on general election day, but seem to forget about it on primary day. Because those same stumbling blocks help them on primary day. And that's the truth. And no one wants to say it, and it's there. You can't deny it. Now, it's not as if every poor person is going to vote for the far left progressive candidate. Obviously, there are lots of impoverished people of color voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, so that's not entirely accurate to say it's 100% going to benefit one side over the other. But, and I think this is important, the educated white liberal is the group of people the least affected by the stumbling blocks that Republicans put in place against Democratic voters in general elections. Those people are not going to be impacted at all on primary day, and those people do vote. They do tend to vote more centrist. They are the ones who are going to vote for Cory Booker or Joe Biden. They're not going to vote for Elizabeth Warren or for Bernie Sanders. They're those people aren't that far left in their mind. They're the ones that sort of like roll their eyes at AOC but are still stalwart Democrats. That's problematic that they have it easy to vote where, people in AOC's district may have a difficult time voting. And that's something to take into consideration as a Democrats. Like, maybe it's time that centrists recognize that they have been the beneficiary of rules and regulations and efforts by Republicans during general elections to depress the Democratic vote to benefit their own candidates in primaries. Is that a hard thing to hear? Probably. Are you angry right now? Probably, because it's not something anyone wants to hear. Like, you're benefiting from the same things that Republicans do. But, I mean, think about my logic. Does it not make sense? Rich people are the ones who are going to have the easiest access to the ballot. Rich people are probably going to be more fiscally central. Those are the people who are going to be socially liberal but fiscally centrist at worst, right? They're not going to be fiscally liberal. If you're wealthy, chances are you're not fiscally liberal. You're not like screaming, tax me more. There are a few people who are like that. And you know what? Those are my favorite kinds of people. But a lot of these, Democrats that are socially liberal, fiscally centrists, those are the ones who have no difficulty based on all the stumbling blocks that Republicans put in play to vote. And they will vote on primary day, and they will vote for the centrist candidate, and that candidate will win. That's why I think it's so important that fiscal centrists set aside their personal, their personal well-being, their personal interest, and vote for a fiscally liberal candidate this time around. Because as much as we get angry that we say that Hillary Clinton didn't inspire people to vote in 2016 and look what it got us, you know what? It's really easy for a wealthy white person to go vote. You don't need to be inspired to vote. It's like stopping to drop off your rent check, which you don't do because you have a mortgage on your $400,000 house, but you get the idea. It's really simple for you. It's a 5-minute diversion from the rest of your day. A poor person has to arrange childcare, has to find time between their two jobs to get to their polling place and then spend a couple hours waiting in line. You say, you shouldn't need to be inspired to vote. You do if it's that much effort. You do. It's not fair, but it's true. You don't get to say you shouldn't have to be inspired to vote. And voting is so important when you're only spending 5 minutes voting and this person's having to create a logistical scenario whereby they can vote. And yes, Republicans are responsible for that, but don't then turn around and say, look, we got the centrist candidate, the fair and balanced way. It is what it is. Now we all have to get on board when everybody who voted for that candidate, or the vast majority of them, were the beneficiaries of an easy voting pathway. Whereas the ones that maybe didn't vote in the primary had the difficult path because that was set aside by the Republican Party to stop them from voting in the general election, and it hurts them in the primaries too. One of the reasons why I don't actually think that making Election Day a federal holiday makes as much sense as making primary day a state holiday in every state. That would make more sense to me. Because here's the thing, if you vote in the primary, how many people vote in the primary that don't vote in the general? Yes, there were some Bernie voters that voted for Jill Stein, and those people can go die in a fire. But they still voted, right, in the general election. So if you went to the effort to vote in the primary, you're probably going to vote in the general. Let's make primary day a holiday. Let's make primary day a holiday. And let's see what that does to the Democratic Party, for real. If you're going to put your, money where your mouth is and say that access to the ballot is what makes America great, then do it for the primaries too. And let's see, let the chips fall where they may. And if centrist candidates continue to win, that's great. Then we know we did the right thing, nothing's wrong. But if leftist candidates win, then that makes the entire that changes the entire way things have been, doesn't it? It makes us rethink everything. Access in the general election isn't the only thing. Access in primaries matters. And the people who benefit in primaries, Democratic primaries, are people who are most like Republicans, right? Because Republicans are designed to benefit from our voter system in the general election, so the people most like Republicans in the Democratic primaries are the ones designed to benefit in primaries, and those people are going to be the ones that are fiscally conservative, wealthy, live in a nice upscale neighborhood, have parking lot at their polling place, can drive their Range Rover and park in the parking lot, go in, vote immediately, walk out, and drive to Starbucks and have a latte. Whereas the people have to wait hours in line. Like it's hard enough to wait hours in line in a general election. Like in a primary election, people gonna be like, just whatever, don't do it. Like just get to work. Like I don't want to have to fire you for this stuff. Says your second shift manager at Starbucks or what have you. It's important. It's important that all people get the right to vote and are able to vote if they wish to do so. But that doesn't just extend to the general, it extends to primaries, and we need to realize that if we want to believe that we are fighting for access to the ballot, then we have to fight for the access to the ballot, both of the general election and the primary election. Period. I firmly believe that more access to the primary ballot means that leftist candidates will have a better chance. I could be wrong. I could easily be wrong. I could be made to look like a fool. But I'm not certain that I am wrong. I would like to be proved wrong, in fact. I don't want it to be conjecture. I want it to be a fact. I want to be a fact that I'm wrong. Then I'm fine. I'll just go away. That's cool. Let's stop making it about conjecture and get it done. Let's make access to the ballot, both in the general and the primary, easier. Let's fight for that. And then let's let the chips fall where they may. That's all I have to say. Have a good one.